Hey guys, I think it's time to wrap up this GE810 restoration series. I've spent the last couple weeks tweaking the chassis and finishing off the cabinet, so let's take a look. First off, I was able to do some trading with a fellow collector and restorer, and I now have a full set of match knobs, which is awesome. Still have a little bit of cleaning to do on them, but otherwise they fit and work just fine. I also managed, after much swearing and and struggling to replace the rotted out, rusted AC plug on the back here. And I retested all the tubes, and I did find that the dual diode 6AL5 tube was weak. These rarely go bad, but the one that was in here was measuring pretty weak, and that's part of the synchronization circuit. And once I replaced it, it was much easier to get the vertical and horizontal to lock. I also replaced the 5U4 with a more modern Westinghouse, or actually no, it's an RCA. The other one was measuring, well, actually it measured okay, but on power up I would see a brief blue glow, and that just didn't look right to me, so I put in this guy. So what I've done now is I've got my test pattern generator I recently restored hooked up through my blonder tongue modulator, running through to the set. So I'll power it up and I'll show you the results of all my tweaking of the horizontal and vertical linearity and so on. I'm just going to plug the AC cord back in here. I managed to find a cheater cord. These are getting harder and harder to find. These are, originally these sets, the AC plug was attached to the back of the set. And the idea being that if you service the set, when you took the back off, the AC would get unplugged automatically to reduce the risk of shock. Well, that's kind of a pain for service techs, so they came out with cheater cords, which allow you to plug in the set without the back being on. But it's also handy when the original cord is all rotted and frayed and dangerous to use, because you can just plug them in like so. Alright, here we go. Also, you notice when I use this blonder tongue modulator that the sound is working just fine, unlike in my last video when I had the digital converter box running straight into it. Camera lights off. Wait for it to warm up a little bit and it should sync. Otherwise I'll just twiddle with this one. There we go. So that is the first test pattern, the alignment test pattern, which gives you a circle, which is supposed to be centered and look pretty, circular, and then you can check the linearity with the squares. It's not perfect, but I did the best I could. These vintage sets, they're just not going to perform as well as a modern solid state set in general. Maybe a really high-end Dumont or RCA would work better, but I compared this to some other guys' sets online, and this is about as good as they got as well. And here's a convergence pattern. More useful for a color TV, but still nice to see what it looks like on this set. See a little bit of a squiggle here, and it's tilting a little bit, but trust me, when you watch a video, it looks just fine. So let's switch over to some actual broadcast programming. Alright, here we go. Working just fine.
He wanted me to correct the inscription on your monument.
Audio's just fine.
Inscription? What's wrong with my inscription? I'm a hero.
You see so many like blacker, darker lines. That's just the frame rate being out of sync of my camera versus the TV. There's not much I can do about that.
Show me.
Picture tube's nice and strong. The only issue is, I don't know if you guys can see this, but right here, there's a little bubble in the glass. That's actually a manufacturing defect. I've seen that in a few other of my early CRTs as well, especially these early GE10FP4s. There's another slight aberration here, but this is the main bad one. And, well, I guess that was just acceptable. I guess it's the equivalent of a dead pixel in an LCD display now. So I'll just have to live with it.
and I got rid of them. Drove them out.
So yeah, this is one of my best performing sets that I've restored so far. I'm quite happy with it.
Maybe it's just an illusion. No. It's here in this town. And with everyone out of the way, I'll level this place to the ground if I must, but I'll find it. Now turn around. Who died gallantly in battle with his entire company in the defense of Fort Stedman. You lied, West. Says I'm a dead hero.
Okay, let's go take a look at the cabinet. Now as for the cabinet, that's just about done. I did use that lacquer especially formulated for brass and coated all the brass surfaces and it came out really nice. The old paint did not react with the lacquer, so this brass is nice and protected now. It will not tarnish again anytime soon, so I'm real happy with that. The grill cloth, not so much. I was able to wash, clean carefully the old grill cloth and it came out looking nice, but it did shrink a bit and it was kind of fraying and ratty to begin with. And I think it's just going to be really tough to try to stretch it and get it back onto the wood frame. It's just the worst area is right between this wooden edge and the side of this frame. There's just really no cloth, not enough cloth there. It's going to be frayed along the visible edge here. So I've been looking around for replacements, and so far the best match I found is simply some burlap. I picked up a Philco 38-4 a while back, and somebody had replaced the grill cloth with just some burlap. It was really dirty, but I washed it, bleached it, ironed it, and it came out looking all right. The color's not quite the same, and the weave isn't quite the same, but if you'd never seen one of these before, you certainly wouldn't know that. So until something better comes along, I think I'll just go with this. I'll just lightly glue it on so I can peel it off again, if I ever care to. So, that's about all that's left on the front. Pull out the rest of the cabinet, glue this down, trim off the excess, and then I can put this set back together, I think. I'm in the process of gluing on this grill cloth. What I did is I put a bead of some wood glue along the far left edge here and glued that down and let it set up. So now I have a firm edge. Now I applied some glue around the important areas and the rest of the face. And I'm going to stretch the cloth across. I took a pair of trouser hangers and pinched the edge of it. And I'm going to pull it tight. Let it hang off the side here and then hang a weight off of it. A C-clamp in this case, and I wrapped it in a cloth so it doesn't bang against the side of the cabinet. And once it's stretched good and even, I'll push it down into the glue, weight here and there on top to push it down and let the glue set up. Once that's done, I'll trim out the opening for the screen and the knob holes and start putting this set back together. I finished with the grill cloth. Looks okay, considering it's burlap and all. And I remounted the speaker on the other side and the emblem. And now I'm working on the safety glass. Put a little bit of electrical tape around the edges, being careful so that it wouldn't be visible, but also that it would get under the glass to provide a little bit of cushion between the wood and the glass. And now I'm working on the brass frame that goes around that. Originally in each corner there was a rubber block or to provide some cushioning, and that had all rotted away long ago, so I've got some foam insulation strips. It's got a sticky back on it. Kind of trying to squeeze them so they're not visible when I put this down. And I think that'll provide enough cushion so the glass won't be stressed when I screw this down. Okay, I've got that secured. Now on to the rest of the front, which is a wooden frame and this metal piece down here. Wood screws holding the wood and sheet metal screws holding the metal. Luckily there are some wire brads sticking up to serve as guides So when I flip this around to feed the screws through from the back, I've got some idea of how to line it up. Okay, I've got the front of the cabinet all back together, so now it's time to slide the chassis in. A rare treat with this set is I have all of the chassis mounting bolts and washers. Usually some or all of these are missing because the sets were worked on over the years and the technician would forget to replace them or lose them or whatnot. But I think I have them all. Word of warning, if you're ever thinking about working on vintage sets, TV sets I should say, is these chassis can be quite heavy, especially sets that have a large power transformer. These are far heavier than most radio chassis. This one's probably 50 pounds at least, and there's really nothing to hold on to. I just carefully slide my fingers underneath the edge, but that's kind of sharp metal, so it does dig into your fingers when you lift it. It's also very fragile, so it's both very heavy, awkward to hold, and you don't dare drop it or bang it because you might break something. So make sure you're in good shape if you're going to work on one of these. So I'm going to turn this cabinet around and slide it in and try to carefully line up the chassis bolt holes. Well, it turns out I was wrong. I actually have 3 out of the 5 mounting bolts. The other 2 are, I think, are from the Philco 491040 I'm also working on. So what I'll do is I'll put 1 in each back corner and the 3rd one up front. And in the meantime, I'll look around in the hardware store, see if I can find something that matches it. Sometimes these old mounting bolts can be kind of hard to find a modern match for. I've also got the chassis up, or cabinet up on blocks to allow me to get underneath so I can get these centered and mounted correctly and fit a ratchet under there. Also making great care to make sure all the controls are centered and the screen looks good in its opening there. So time to tighten these down and then put the back back on. Alrighty, I've got the back back on the set, plugged in the cheater cord, got it hooked up to analog cable. So let's try this out. Now this is a tabletop set, but I don't have a sturdy table handy to put this on, so it's just on top of a box right now. But that should serve just fine. They've been slowly phasing out analog cable on the suburbs, and I assume eventually in the city I won't be able to get it anymore either, and I'll have to switch to digital and get a cable box. But for the time being, I can still hook my analog sets up right to the cable feed. Yeah.
Must be bring your kids to the sound effects booth day.
There you go.
And finally,
David Letterman.
His cremation.
Sounds just fine. Pictures just fine. So actually this project is a success and I'm calling it done. Unlike most vintage sets, if you turn the lights off, it looks even better. So there we go. I've turned the overhead lights off. Turn off this other lights. A very watchable picture.
Dress up the kids with 40% off holiday suits and dresses. Boots by Style & Company and G by Guess, $29.99. Stay warm in any weather in this weatherproof Ultratech jacket, $69.99. Entertain in style, 40% off Bella Cucina buffet servers, slow cookers, and chafing dishes. And take 50% off turkey roasters from Martha Stewart and Tools of the Trade. Great prices every day. That's the magic of Macy's.
Are you ready?